What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gaming Without Parole. My name is Brian Paul. Sitting to my left, your right, is the ever symphonious.
That's a good one.
Symphonious Mike Zeller. And to my right, your left, is Jobby Nogueras, making his very first appearance on our video version of this podcast. You've been on the audio podcast before.
We've never aired.
Someday, those are going to be available for people. And they're going to go, oh, I know Jobby.
Yeah, there you go.
Now I know what he looks like. Mike, how you doing this week?
Oh, pretty okay.
Thanks for lying.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not lying this week. I'm not on the verge of collapse.
Good.
But so we always talk about like work and stuff beforehand, and we have all these hilarious stories, and then we're just like, we can't put those in the air though.
Right.
But this week, I was thinking about how a couple weeks back we had talked about how at work you're like the video game guy. Like everyone knows that. Like that's all. That's all.
Yep.
Nice. And you know, you talk about video games all the time. If anybody needs to know anything about video games,
I'm their guy.
Yeah. And I talked to you about how, I mean, I think there's some people at my work that know I'm into video games, but it's not like...
It's more of a secret.
Yeah, it's not really my thing.
You're a closeted gamer.
Yeah, and so the other day, we were involved in this project at work that involved doing some video game stuff, and my boss came in and was talking to the guy that I was working with about that, and then kind of turned to me and goes, Mike, you play some video games, right? You know a little bit. And I was like, yeah, a little bit.
I've heard of them.
A little bit, yeah. Yep. I'm somewhat familiar.
Does Nintendo still do things?
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of the difference in our work dynamics.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Jobby? When you're at work, do people know you play video games? Is it something you talk about with your coworkers?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all, surprisingly.
What do you talk about with your coworkers?
About why I work there.
I think that's a common thread in every job.
That comes up. Well, not so much in my job, but...
No. Mike, for anybody joining us for the first time, which, again, only like 50 people have ever watched this podcast.
Well,
Can you tell the people at home what the fuck we do here on Gaming Without Parole?
So basically what we're doing here is video documenting Brian's slow slide into financial insolvency. This is going to become evidence in the court case when his creditors take him to or litigate against him. That's basically what we're doing here is it's just this is going to be part of like one of those documentaries a few years down the line.
I just let him go.
Yeah.
I have a refrigerator.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it took me 3 weeks.
Well, that's better. My oven's been out of commission for like 3 months, so...
Yeah, but I think I use the oven maybe once every other month.
Yeah.
I use my refrigerator constantly. All the time, even when I'm not here.
Yeah,
like, that's
crazy.
kind of its point.
You're like more into fridge. Maybe this should be a fridge podcast.
Right. All right. I do have a refrigerator. We actually have a new video camera for the podcast,
which is not the one we're using today.
So if this looks oddly familiar, the perspective, the fish-eye lens, there's a reason for it. It's because I can't fucking figure out the new camera. We're still using the fucking GoPro.
Did it show up today, though?
No. It showed up like 4 days ago, and I just haven't... I couldn't even figure out how to charge it until like before I went to bed last night. It's not complicated. I'm just dumb. So
it's a good thing you're running the editing of this podcast.
That explains the editing of the podcast.
And everyone should be glad when we were setting this one up. When I came over, Brian was cursing and fiddling around with the camera, and it looked like if we had left it the way it would have looked like this entire podcast was a dream sequence, which actually might have been.
I should have kept some of that
more
video.
Appropriate.
Right. It's like if you're on acid, this podcast's a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
everything's more interesting.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense if you think you're high while you're watching it.
Yeah. It's going to be a strange edit because Mike's suddenly going to have a water.
Yeah, you should do it like right at a moment where I'm like reaching out and suddenly it's just like ping.
It'll be like a bewitched edit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I probably already edited us back, but we're back, so that's good. Guys, let's start off because the most important thing we can talk about is what video games we've been playing this week. That's the most important thing in my life, and I don't want to start because I'm miserable.
All right.
Mike, why don't you take us away?
I'll get the ball rolling.
You know they, just to interrupt you before you had a chance to start,
Perfect.
The Xenoblade on 3DS got a review, and it actually got reviewed really well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you've been playing the Wii version.
Yeah, I think it's just a weird game. I've been playing it very sporadically, and it's fairly easy to get back into it.
For anyone who didn't see the last podcast, my favorite line of Mike's last week was, I've been playing for 15 hours and I've yet to leave the first town.
I did finally leave the first town, and it was by accident, because I thought I had to go out to a certain point to get this side quest started, but it started the next story event, and I was like, alright, I'm just going to roll with this. I'm sick of hunting fucking beach crabs and shit.
Right. It's about time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't actually, I checked the clock, I wasn't quite 15 hours. I was like 10 to 12, but still in the opening town.
Insane amount of time.
Yeah, and this is supposedly like a huge game. I mean, that's one of its selling points, is like at the beginning of the game you can see like way out into the horizon, and you're supposedly able to like walk there, sand. I mean, there'll be loading times and stuff, but it's not like a break. Like you can walk there, turn around, and see back the way that you came. And so I'm just like, the fuck long is this game? It's like 15 hours, and I haven't even fought the second or third boss yet.
No giant sand crab?
No.
Just little sand crabs.
Yeah, little sand crabs. Actually, I did kill a big one, but that was, again, a side quest that some villager gave me.
Very important.
So, yeah, no, it's not a bad game. I think I've just been having a hard time wrapping my head around it. I think I've been trying to play it like Final Fantasy XII, because that's kind of how it was selling itself. It was like, Final Fantasy XII was kind of set up like a single-player MMO almost, and that's kind of what this was billing itself as. But it's not quite the same thing. Okay. It's open world, but it's not really like the combat seems really complicated, but it's not. Like it's best to just, I think, not try to overthink anything, which is what I was doing. But so I've also been putting more time into Bravely Default. I don't know, man. Like it's a cool game, but it's got, again, weird pacing issues. Yeah. So I've been stuck on this one side quest that they're like, yeah, it's a real bitch to do at this point in the game. But if you move ahead, you lose it forever. So perfect.
Might as well stick around and do it.
And a lot of people were like, oh, just skip it and then do it on the New Game Plus. And I'm like, I'm not doing New Game Plus. Like, this is a one-pass affair. So I finally just got... It's basically you have to kill 6 versions of the same boss, and they're all super hard, which then gives you access to an even more difficult boss afterwards, and then you're done. So I killed all 6 of those guys after like hours of leveling and false starts, and I finally got to this other guy, and he just slaughtered me. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to level up a little bit. Yeah. And as I did that, I looked ahead because I'm like, is this even worth it? Like, where is this going? The rest of the game, which is still quite lengthy, is basically just like refighting the same bosses over and over again. Like,
at what point do you just throw in the towel and say, I'm not loving this, so why am I wasting my time?
Because everybody else does, and they're like, this is the new Final Fantasy with the job system. This is great. And
we've come to terms, I think, with the fact that we're aware that everyone else is dumb.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do have that T-shirt.
Why don't you just go play Final Fantasy VI again?
I should just replay Final Fantasy V and be like, I'm playing Bravely Default. And just like when I get involved in discussions about it, just talk about Final Fantasy V.
As if it's the same game.
Exactly.
Right
exactly. On. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've had a very similar week as the week last week and the week before. You haven't been kind of stuck on a couple games here.
Yeah, maybe it's time to just ditch it and do something else. I've also been... Because John and I finished one of our numerous... hey, John. Finished our numerous Dark Souls 2 playthroughs. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm done with this. It's time to do a Dark Souls original playthrough. Oh Speaking of which, so I was in GameStop I guess like a week ago, just killing time on my lunch break. And this,
why else would you
do
there?
Exactly, yeah. And there was a guy in there, and he seemed a little off. And
so he must have been working there.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell whether his inflection was like an accent or if maybe he like took a bad fall down a flight of stairs or something.
Okay.
And he was asking the clerk about different games, and one of the games he was asking about was Dark Souls 2, and it got confusing very quickly because it was like 2 or 3 days after the
PS4 release.
the Scholar of the First Sin release came out, but that wasn't what he was asking about. So anyways, he's asking about Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2. And at one point he goes, Did they make a first one of those? Dark Souls 2. Did they make a first one of those? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think I heard of that.
The general rule, and it's not always followed, strangely enough, is that you have to make a 1 before you make a 2. There were stories, though, that there were, when the Wii was getting a shit ton of shovelware, that there were certain games that came out with the number 2 after them, because studies show that sequels sell.
Yeah.
And so people just made games called blah, blah, blah 2. And it was just like garbage shovelware.
That's amazing.
That's just so typical of the Wii, though.
Well, there have been a few times, like Leisure Suit Larry 5, I think it was, where the beginning of the game, the series went right from 3 to 5. Oh. And there was no Leisure Suit Larry 4. And the joke of the whole game is that, like, you wake up after this bender that was Leisure Suit Larry 4, and you can't fucking remember anything. And so awesome. And that joke has continued even in the new, like, shitty, Vivendi releases of the games. Like, they make jokes about how, like, there was never a Leisure Suit Larry 4.
I wish I knew that. Like, I feel like that's something I should have known.
That's pretty amazing. And if that, I mean, that doesn't seem quite like a From Software kind of joke, but I could see some, right. I could see some game companies, doing something like that.
Absolutely. Before I jump into my Bloodborne tirade, why don't you tell us what you've been playing this week?
Dynasty Warriors. Yeah, other than Pokemon, I'm always playing Pokemon. I've been playing Dynasty Warriors Empires 8.
Okay. Wow. That was not what I expected you to say.
Yeah.
Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah,
holy shit.
I know. I just got it. It's alright.
Yeah.
I like the Empires mode where you can create characters and live your life through as them.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So now Dynasty Warriors to me has always been like just this kind of, you're on this big battlefield.
Yes.
And you have a couple characters and you run around and you kill a fuck ton of people. But I didn't know there was like much more to it than that. Is there like
that's basically the gist of the game.
Yeah.
In Empires mode, there's a continent, and you can rule a specific area of the continent, and it's sort of like a strategic war game where you can choose to do politics, create alliances with other kingdoms, or you can invade and raid them. And
so the invading and raiding part is the only part I'm familiar with.
Yes.
That's it. So there's a lot more.
There's a lot more now.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't say a lot more. You still got to raid and invade in order to beat the game, so.
Okay. I'm curious now, because the only footage I've seen of Hyrule Warriors is, like, the hack and slash part.
Yes.
Like, do we know if there's more to that game as well?
I've only played it a couple times. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But I believe it's just a hack and slash, not really.
Got it. Because I don't know. Like, I'm looking for any excuse to pick up that game possibly. And I'm like, I hate Dynasty Warriors, but Zelda's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Midna's in it, I mean, that should be reason enough.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
She's in Smash Brothers, too, She's an assist
what?
Trophy. Yeah, she's an assist trophy. She's one of the characters you can summon in to help you out.
That's good to know. Good thing I bought that game.
Oh, man. Smash Brothers. It's going to happen one of these days for me.
Yeah. Someday.
Dynasty Warriors. Definitely threw me a curveball. Is that? I know that's not all you've been playing, because I just watched you play like fucking Pokemon for an hour.
Other than that, I've been playing Fantasy Life.
Right, Fantasy Life.
Oh
yes.
Yeah,
that's a really good game.
Yeah.
I'm a fanatic. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I am an absolute fanatic for Fantasy Life. I rep that all day. There's about 12 classes, or as they say in the game, lives. There's 4 gatherers, 4... I don't even know what you would call them. 4
like the
merchants.
Merchant, yeah.
Yeah, and then 4 fighters. There's a paladin, there's a wizard, of course, hunter, and mercenary. There's... Well, check the game out yourself. You'll find out.
So I mean, I know very little about the game. I know it's like a pretty standard like JRPG style game.
I'd say it's a cross between Animal Crossing and That's a really hard one.
It's from what I've heard, it's like almost like a Legend of Zelda meets an Animal Crossing kind of deal.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
a little more actiony, a little less puzzly. Yeah,
but the point of it all is that you choose from all these different classes, and you're able to actually go through the entire game as like a merchant.
Yes,
right. Where normally that's not something you'd be
able to actually do.
Right. Yeah. Dragon Quest IV.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a cool idea because I've always liked the idea of class-based systems, and I've liked the idea of having kind of non-combatant classes. Like you level up guys to a certain point, and then maybe you can switch them over to like a merchant or something, and you'd lose them as like a fighter, but you'd gain the abilities or something. Like that seems like a really cool idea to have in some of the bigger multi-class games.
The cool thing about Fantasy Life is that you can, whatever skills you develop in a specific class, you don't lose those skills when you change classes. So you could be, let's say, a tailor making clothes for the king, and while you're doing that, you can still wield a broadsword and slash everything in your way.
That's pretty cool.
And you beat it.
I beat the story, but I've only mastered like 5 lives. I haven't even really completed the game in its depth.
And I don't want to be jumping around too crazily here, but I do want to tackle one news story while we're on a level 5 tangent here. Level 5, I love level 5. I mean, like fucking Dark Cloud, I loved that back in the day. Even Professor Layton, I know we don't.
Well, I don't. It's just not really my cup of tea.
It's a diversion for me. I've never sat down for 12 hours and been like, I gotta fucking beat Professor Layton. but I love it. I like the art style and I like the voice acting. And it's
they're
fun.
Cool characters.
The puzzles are always interesting, at least, even if a little shoehorned in.
Yeah.
But Ni no Kuni was like one of my favorite games of last gen, and they were behind that. Now that they've done Fantasy Life, everyone's like, well, what the fuck are they going to do next? And one of the great news stories of this week was that they're working with, or at least they're working with Nintendo, releasing Youkai Watch.
Oh my god! Yeah. I can't wait for that to come out.
Hear about that.
Now, it's actually the third game is actually already in development in Japan, but we haven't seen any of them yet. And it looks pretty amazing. It looks like it's going to be the next Pokemon, possibly a little too childish. And so I think that's the big hurdle that this game is going to overcome. Isn't
that the tagline for our podcast? Possibly a little too childish.
No, possibly. So anybody who doesn't know about Youkai Watch is a little boy. The world is populated.
Now I know why Brian likes it.
Fucking love it. Yep. I hope my parents don't watch this.
Mine do sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I asked my dad if he watched it, and he said no. And I said, why? He goes, because you fucking swear too much. He didn't say that.
That would be awesome. And then he threw his beer at you.
Right. Crash. Yeah. Okay, so yokai are like these mysterious ghosts, basically that can't be seen by the human eye, but they cause problems in the world. Like they're like the troublemakers of the world. And so this kid who has a watch can see them and do stuff and basically solve problems and collect yokai. Which I mean, it screams Pokemon, but it really is. We watched the preview just before Mike got here, and it looks really like one of the best 3DS looking games yet made.
Yeah, I've seen some shots of it.
Now, the big question, I think, is what game are they going to bring here? Because they're bringing the manga, they're bringing the anime, they're bringing it all over here. It's going to be like the fucking next Japanese invasion.
Yeah.
But the question is, what are they going to bring? Because the first 2 games take place in Japan. And so it's like, all right, but the third game that's in development now takes place here in the U.S. So which game would be most suitable to introduce this to U.S. audiences? I hope they start with the first game because I feel like there's every game that
you can't miss the continuity.
Well, it's just there's a logical progression, I think, and not even in terms of story because I don't really know the story
just within gameplay itself.
Right? Gameplay. They always add like little additions here and there, like with every game. So if they start us off with the third game, there's no going back. Like no one's going to want to go back and watch the
sort of like Pokemon, and now you can Mega Evolution. Nobody wants to go back to.
It's exactly what I was thinking. I think we're all aware. I don't know anything about Pokemon. I wish I did. Put that in the Smash Brothers category.
When Pokemon first came out, so they released the game, and the games themselves were kind of not a huge release at the time. I think Nintendo at first wasn't sure how well they were going to do. And I remember, but I'd been reading about them in like the preview magazines for games, and it was like at the height of my enthusiasm for Japanese RPGs, and I was like, whoa, a Japanese RPG where you can have like unlimited characters because you just keep recruiting it. It's amazing. So I went out and I bought it like on release day, and I played the crap out of it, and I was in high school at the time, and I used to talk to my friends about this amazing RPG I was playing called Pokemon.
Right. And
then the cartoon started coming out over here, and I watched like an episode, and I was like, oh, this is for 6-year-olds. And I suddenly stopped talking about it to all my my high school friends.
Yeah.
That was whoopsies.
But I mean, to your credit, those are great games.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, they are good. I still play them now. Yeah. Now I don't care if people think I'm a 6-year-old. Back in high school, I guess I gave more of a shit.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. I probably wouldn't be playing video games right now if people cared what I thought of me.
Yeah.
Although it's more acceptable now than ever. It used to be a very, very niche thing, and now I don't know very many people who don't play some kind of game.
Yeah, my mom used to be very religious against Pokemon. Used to throw all my video games away, all my cards away, say that they're full of demons.
So you actually told this story when the first time you were on the podcast, but this is the first time anyone's going to get a chance to hear this. Do you mind kind of...
Oh, not at all. Okay, so my mom used to be a very big religious freak. I know you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah. But she used to swear that my Mario blanket had demons in it because Bowser was on it. So she threw that out. A whole bunch of church people came into my house one time, and they decided to go into my room just to see if there's any demons or spirits that are haunting me, why I'm behaving badly in school, da-da-da. And so
he was like,
they
"No,
found
it's the drugs.
Yeah.
it's not the.
It was
it's
the
not
church
demons.
that made me that way." Going to church about 5 days a week does that to you. Aww. And so they opened my first drawer. Now, what they found was a giant binder full of Pokemon cards, and they're flipping through them. They're like, "Oh my God, ay diablo!" There goes my Pokemon cards. I'm like, all right, so I don't need cards to enjoy life. I got the video games. They find my video game. Super Mario's in it. I'm like, okay, they can't really throw that out. It's Mario. He's trying to save a princess. What's so demonic about that? They threw it out. No. Because it's digital. And they feel like video games just make kids want to do what's in video games, per se. I don't even know. They said it in Spanish. Yeah, it was so long ago. They just didn't like it.
This explains so much about why he's stepping on turtles all the time and throwing fire at us.
Right?
Why he keeps punching through brick walls.
Every day at school,
we thought he was just wicked into Kool-Aid.
Every day in the school, I had a friend who had just so many Pokemon games. So he would just give me a new game every day, knowing that my mom would throw it out by the end of the day.
Wow.
Talk about disposable media.
Yeah, that's extremely generous. I hope you still hang out with this guy.
Seriously. Can I hang out with this guy?
Right? But... long story short, every day, I would get my ass whooped because my mom would find the game and say, "Didn't I tell you not to bring this in my house?" And
this is what we've been missing on the podcast.
Yeah,
just a little dose of real life.
Yeah. Oh God.
And that's why I love Pokemon so much, because my mother hates it.
Because it's Stockholm syndrome.
Wow.
Oh God.
So I've been playing.
Well, there's.
Right. I've been playing two things this week. I've been playing Bloodborne, which I finally made progress.
Nice.
Right. We skipped the podcast last week. So as of 2 weeks ago, what I'd said was I'd been playing for about 10 hours and I had made zero progress. You witnessed some of this. And
did you record?
No, I didn't record any footage because I thought it was embarrassing.
That's the whole point.
So here's the thing. I was like, I finally got to the first boss. The cleric boss. He's actually an optional boss. And I got my ass whooped. But in the grand RPG tradition of grinding, I was like, well, I'm just going to fucking keep leveling up and go back and kick his ass. And that's exactly what I did. And there's just one of those, and you know this full well from playing Dark Souls, that it's so rewarding to beat something that's kicked your ass over and over and over again. And I finally, like, after beating that boss, I realized just how much I love this game, because it is so difficult and so rewarding. I haven't gotten a feeling like this from a game in a long time. So it's to the point where, like, you get so familiar with a certain area, you know where every single person's going to jump out of, you know exactly what's going to happen. Like, you have this shit memorized. It's like playing an old Mega Man game.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, it's like you need to do it to survive. And I'm like, wow, I didn't think my brain was capable of this kind of, like, memorization anymore. You know, this kind of, like, fast reflexes. I thought that, like, those days were behind me, and I'm just going to suck at video games for the rest of my life. And so I got a trophy when I beat the cleric boss, or the cleric beast boss. And the great thing about the PlayStation 4 is that you can check trophies and see, out of all the people who have been playing the game, what percentage of people got this trophy already. And I was like, I know a ton of people have probably given up on this game before they even got to this boss. So I'm thinking to myself, 15, 20%, 60% of the people who have played Bloodborne a week after it came out beat this boss. And I was like, I play video games more than anybody I know. I thought that this was so I kind of, like, lost a little bit of that satisfaction, because I was like, it's official, everyone's better at this game than I am.
Only 50, only 60%. You're still better than
40%.
You're in the top of the bottom half.
Right, but some of those people might have just bought the game that day. Like, just put it in their system 5 minutes before I beat that boss.
Well, I would imagine, too, that a lot of the people that are playing it are people who have played through, Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2. And while a lot of it is learning, like, those skills do transfer,
Yeah. But then soon after, like, I got to another boss that kicked my ass, and so I didn't get upset, it didn't drive me crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what I need to do. And I'm making some really rapid progress now, and I'm seeing some very cool things, and I'm absolutely loving the world, and I've got to say, this is probably my favorite game of, like, the last 2 years.
Nice.
And I'm not very far in at all, really. I've only beat, like, 3 bosses, and but it's just a beautiful game, and I'm having so much fun with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
The other thing I've been playing this week is a game that I've talked about incessantly on this podcast, and actually did a video of. It's The Mad Wizard on the original NES. It's a new game. I think it came out 2014. I don't think it's 2015. By Slydog Studios, and it's just a brand new NES game. And I played a little quick, like, half-hour preview of it to see if I liked it or not. And I came to terms with the fact that it's difficult.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. Very much like a Metroidvania style game. So I played through the entire thing from start to finish in one sitting the other day, because I was like, I need to give this game the attention it deserves. I'm actually going to make a backlog about it just because it deserves that kind of attention from the 12 people that watch backlog. It's awesome. It's 3.5 hours long, and it is phenomenal. Every single time you get a power up, because you start off, you're so underpowered.
Yeah.
You, like, there's like a bat flying at you, and you're like jamming on the button. You go, fire, 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 and right before the bat gets to you, like, you kill it, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that was, like, way too close. and that's how underpowered you are. Like, even the very first enemy you encounter is tough to kill. And then you're able to, like, levitate and fly a little bit, but your power ups cause you to, like, be able to levitate an extra square higher, an extra square further.
Yeah.
And suddenly all of these things that seemed out of your reach within just a couple hours are like, oh man, I know exactly how I'm going to get up to that ledge now, because you've got all these crazy new powers. Yeah. And it's just a really well done game. If it came out back in the NES era, it would have fit right in.
Yeah.
But it would have been like one of my favorite games probably of that era. So I mean, fucking great job, Slydog. Like, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, over the past couple of weeks, you've really been selling me on this game.
Yeah. You can borrow it now that I finished it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think I will look into it.
Yeah, it's really great.
You had talked about on some of the previous podcasts how you've been buying repros, and I had been thinking, like, I am kind of an obnoxious elitist in certain ways. Like, I feel like for games that got legitimate releases, I want to own, the original copy. Sure. But for stuff, like Japanese games that never got translated, that got translation patches. Like the idea of having an English version of that game on an original cartridge is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I was actually reading something about Sweet Home the other day, which has always seemed like a cool game, but always like I don't know if I'd actually play it or not.
Right.
But this was really selling me on it. And I was thinking like, I should look up, because I know you bought a repro of that, and I was like, I should look up where Brian got his, and I said it was OCD something. So I looked up OCD gaming. No, that is not. That gives a very different series of Google results. A lot of mental health articles.
So I do want to plug OCD Reproductions,
yeah.
because not only do I think they're a great site, because every cartridge I've gotten from OCD so far has been, professional grade.
Yeah.
Like the label is shiny and glossy and like professionally printed, and even the cartridges, which I'm sure are donor carts like from older games, very clean. Like they look like new games. And then every single game I put into my original Nintendo works first try.
Yeah.
No wiggling, no jamming,
blowing,
no blowing. Yeah. So that's awesome, first of all. But then you and I had talked about Holy Diver.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I'm looking for a repro of this game.
What a great song.
Is it a song?
Yeah, that's a Dio song, Holy Diver. It's great.
So I emailed OCD Reproductions, because on the front of their page, on their homepage, it says it says if you want a game that's not here, email us. But they're very clear. They're like, don't be stupid. They're like, make sure it's a game that exists. Make sure it's not already listed on our site. Make sure, and I'm like, oh man, it seems like a lot of work to like ask for a game. So I emailed them. I was like, guys, I know that there's an English translation of Holy Diver out there. It's not on your site. I'm like, can you make the game for me? And like within 6 hours, I got an email from Cody, the guy that runs the site.
It's just the lyrics from Holy Diver written out.
He goes, he said, yeah, no problem. I posted it on the site. It's available to buy for you now. And I looked it up, and there it was, with like a full description about like how in EGM back in the day there was, here's the preview from EGM, and it was released on the Famicom in Japan, but never in the US. And so there's this full description. I looked at the picture. They created an awesome label for it. I was like, that was like 6 hours ago. I asked for this game, and then they're like, "Here you go." And it wasn't like an inflated price. It was $28, like the rest of their NES
That's
games.
Nuts.
Right?
That's a great price for a repro.
It's on its way. It should be here like this week. And so I'm like, just fucking kudos. I mean, these guys go above and beyond. I can't imagine it's more than a couple people running this thing in their spare time.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed, and the great prices, of course. Yeah. Now, it also explains why there's no money in my bank account. Because, yeah. Actually, a game came today from them. Strangely, another Sunday delivery.
Yeah.
But, I love USPS. I'm not sure what happened, but suddenly they deliver on Sundays. It's called Cosmo Police Galavin, and I think it came out in Japan. But according to OCD Reproductions, it's the best NES game ever made. And so I said, well, based on your recommendation,
seriously,
from the people selling the game, I will.
They've never led me astray before.
Right. So far, so good. So yeah, I just showed up, and I can't wait to play it. But who the fuck knows what it is? Maybe it's an unreleased game.
That's great.
I didn't even do any research. They're like, it's great, I'll buy it. All right, guys, before we jump into the news of the week, there's a new segment I want to introduce onto the podcast. And it's something we've done before, but I want to make it a weekly thing.
Okay.
The name of the segment is called EGM Said What Now?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because my favorite magazine from back in the day is Electronic Gaming Monthly. And I have almost every issue, ever made, except for the new ones.
Yeah.
They kind of suck now.
Yeah.
Whenever they came back, they weren't amazing. But they always say crazy things, because they were just like us back in the day. They only knew what they were told, like there wasn't a whole lot of, the internet wasn't terribly prevalent, and they just had to believe whatever was going on. So, now this is issue 205, June 2006. Okay?
Not super long ago.
Right.
I mean,
the internet existed.
Yeah, oh
there
yeah.
were things, but this is the spread I'm talking about. Final Fantasy 13's. Okay? So they talk a bit about Final Fantasy 13, and I don't give a fuck about that game, so we're not going to talk about that. Now, 2006. June 2006. We all good? 2006? Yeah. We're all back into the era of the PlayStation 3 and the 360 just launched, right? God of War 2 just came out. All right, the PlayStation Portable looked like it was going to be a success.
I was just out of college, driving around, feeling really hungry because I didn't have any money or jobs.
I just moved to Tennessee. I was fighting with everybody I knew about how amazing the PlayStation 3 was going to be.
And I was still in school.
You were born, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just.
We have to give you a hard time for being young. We're only because we're old and jealous of your youth. I'm going to read the entire blurb about Final Fantasy Versus 13. As we all know, Final Fantasy Versus 13 turned into Final Fantasy 15.
Yep.
Not out yet. As of this recording date. This is March, 12th?
Yeah.
2015.
Yes, it's, yeah.
Okay. So now this is 6, 7, 8, 9 years after this article was published. Final Fantasy Versus 13. Let's see. This is a quote by director Tetsuya Nomura. I'm relieved that Final Fantasy 13 will honor the underlying Final Fantasy traditions, says director Tetsuya Nomura, so that I can feel free to experiment with everything that I want in my game, Versus 13. Versus 13 doesn't mean versus in terms of multiplayer, but rather refers to the Latin meaning to change direction. So expect this game to play unlike any previous Final Fantasy title. You'll be controlling a seriously emo anti-hero.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound like Final Fantasy at all.
This didn't change at all. On an action-packed adventure created by the Kingdom Hearts 2 team. This is where things go off the rails. Before you start sewing your cosplay outfit, though, be warned. Versus 13 probably won't hit until 2008. 2015, the game is still not out yet. And we wonder why Square is in financial trouble. Greatest quote ever. Yeah. That concludes this segment.
Is Tetsuya Nomura even still involved with that game at all?
No. Is he still alive? People die in 8 years. Like anything could have happened.
The weight of all of the zippers in his outfit just broke his back. Oh, they're so heavy. Snap.
Yeah, I don't know who's involved in the game anymore. I'm not a huge fan of the demo that I played. I wish I was.
I liked what you were pointing out, though, how the more realistic these games get, the more jarring the abstractions in role-playing games get. Like you said, you're fighting these like huge monsters, and then you walk like 10 feet away, and there's like a gas station with people like
pumping gas,
buying
coffee,
buying Slim Jims and stuff.
No one's even remotely concerned that there's like a huge fucking colossus killing people right there.
It fell over and like landed right next to the gas station. Like, it's on fire.
Yeah, it was still pumping gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, guys. A lot of shit happened over the last 2 weeks, and we need to talk about it before we run out of time. All right. The most important news we could have ever possibly gotten broke this week. Taco Bell is going to start delivering food in some capacity this year.
What?
Nice.
Yeah, this is very important news.
So this is extremely, especially because my culture.
Yeah. Now I don't have to drive to get diarrhea anymore.
Now, right? I mean, I don't drink anymore, but when I was drunk, every single night would be a Taco Bell delivery night, because that's the best time to have Taco Bell. Drunk, high, fucked up, doesn't matter. And if somebody's going to deliver it to you, yep.
I know down in Miami, Burger King, McDonald's delivers.
See? They know what's going on.
That's crazy.
Didn't know that Taco Bell was into that kind of stuff.
That's crazy.
Yep. So we'll see what happens with that.
Well, Taco Bell had also announced recently, and I don't have it in front of me.
That we don't use real meat.
Yeah. No, that they're opening a chain of Mexican restaurants. Like, actual authentic food, which...
Is KFC still involved?
I think so.
I hope so. Their mac and cheese is the shit.
But I love that because it's like they're basically acknowledging that Taco Bell is like garbage. Yeah, because they're like, no, we're opening real restaurants now. Like, trust us.
Listen, so we actually have a pretty good Mexican place right down, or southwestern Mexican place down the street on Worcester, whatever, and it's like authentic, and it's in my book. No, I like Taco Bell better than the more expensive stuff.
What's the hierarchy of fast food for you guys, as far as like what you think is probably the most toxic versus like
McDonald's
is
Burger
definitely
King,
the most toxic.
You think so? You think it's worse than Taco Bell?
Yeah, I mean, because I think so.
I mean, McDonald's, well, by toxicity, McDonald's is probably the most toxic because they have a wider range of consumers. Like, they're all around the world. Whereas Taco Bell is in America.
Yeah.
So is Burger King, Wendy's. They're not making it offshores anytime soon.
I don't know. I just think that like a good percentage of what you're eating at McDonald's is like, you know, any like the meats like shouldn't be trusted. You know, like and you know with Taco Bell it's like at least you know that there's like some beans involved. Like, you know, it's like meat
something
meat
that
product,
is not like chemicals from liquefied animals.
I feel like the meat product is like, you know, like just there for it to add some like substance to whatever you're eating. But like you often get like tomatoes and lettuce and stuff like that actually mixed in. So it's like, well, this can't be 100% bad for me. Maybe like 90%. Why? What do you think the worst is?
I was thinking it would have been Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking that, and then probably like KFC. I mean, McDonald's was down there. But
KFC, that's going to be pretty bad.
KFC's amazing.
It does taste amazing.
Well, I wasn't going off of taste. I was just saying, as far as like when I put this into my body, like how many bottles of rubbing alcohol does this or how many bottles of motor oil does this equate out to?
Since we're on topic, what's our favorite fast food?
Burger King.
Burger King's your favorite?
Burger King. What
are your favorite things to get at Burger King?
Everything.
Narrows it
There's not been one thing I did not
when
like
Joey
from
gets
Burger
to
King.
Burger King, like before they can even ask him what he wants, he's like over the counter, just scooping,
grabbing stuff,
like lobs out of the
myself
out of the fryer, just shoveling it into his mouth.
Oh man. You don't have a favorite? Just everything?
Just usually, honestly, I'll grab like a Whopper and probably fries and just like I don't know. I grab like different sandwiches and make a sandwich out of those sandwiches.
Oh,
so
like
I am not the
Frankenburger.
hardest.
Yeah, you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
What was that?
McGangbang.
Yeah,
I make like 5 of those and make like put all my McGangbangs in a giant McGang. It's a McBukaki.
What did I miss? How did you know what's going on here?
I don't know.
A McGangbang is when you grab a McDouble and a McChicken. Well, no, was it a Big Mac? I don't know. I grab a McDouble and a McChicken and fries
awesome.
and layer it all together.
That would be awesome because I do love McDoubles.
Just
and
unhinge your jaw and swallow it like a python.
What's your favorite?
Do we count? Does like Domino's and Delivery Chinese, are those counting, or are we just talking like?
If those count, then I like to change my answer.
No, those don't count.
So we're just talking like because I guess McDonald's. I mean, I very very rarely eat fast food, and when maybe once or twice a year, I'll be like, I just want to get some shitty McDonald's,
right, and feel awful for 3 days.
Yeah.
I have a.
You know what I haven't had in a while? The Runs.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I do have to say that, like McDonald's, like if I don't crave other fast food, but when I go like 6-8 months without McDonald's, like there's one night where like something goes horribly wrong in my life, and I can
it's that you got McDonald's.
No, I can actually where my gym is at. I can almost see the McDonald's like across the street.
So
I'm like running on the treadmill, just staring, going, "I'm almost there."
You look down the line of treadmills, and everybody's doing that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Though, I was like, well, if I just run an extra 3 miles, I can have some McDonald's. And it's not something like I feel. It's like I feel gross after I eat it, so I don't want it for 6 more months, and then I forget how bad that feeling is, and then I'll be on that treadmill. But Taco Bell's a close second for sure. I love Taco Bell, and I don't go. Anytime I get fast food, I know it's going to be like a once or twice a year kind of thing.
Yeah. So
you got to go all out. Like I go to Taco Bell's, and I'm like, can I get 6 soft taco supremes? And
no
KFC,
need to put them in the bag.
KFC, I need some of that fucking mac and cheese because it's awesome. Yeah, no, don't put them in the bag. I'm going to eat them on the way home.
Yeah, they're like handing them to you, and you're just eating them.
Just paying as we go.
Yeah.
Here's money. Yeah, and it's the same thing with McDonald's. Like, I will absolutely get like 4 double cheeseburgers and 4 McChickens.
Oh my God.
And then
Maybe that's why it feels so bad. Maybe if you just got like 1 double cheeseburger.
I don't want it to feel good.
When can you stop at 1 double cheeseburger?
Fuck that. I'm like 6 feet tall. Like, I require more junk food than you do. Maybe we can talk about something else now.
Maybe.
All right, guys. Moving on. We have a lot more news to talk about. Mario Kart 8 is getting a 200cc mode.
Oh, yeah, I heard
That's
that.
one game to help you lose friends.
Yeah.
That's right. You and I were playing Double Dash on GameCube.
Is that why I haven't seen you in a while?
We got really mad at each other. Yeah. So it's really fast is the news story on this. That's it.
Wow.
200cc, really fast.
Yeah.
So now it's like F-Zero.
Yeah. Right, the Sega F-Zero.
The Sega F-Zero.
Yeah, the GameCube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like impossible.
You know what? So
I have to sneeze.
Okay.
We're just gonna wait. We're just gonna wait. Excuse me.
All right. Perfect.
I'm gonna edit that out. No, I'm not. That takes work.
So you know how in Smash Brothers they always have like a Mario Kart level where you're fighting and then you have to like move out of the way as everyone's fucking cars come through. You know what I want to see? I want to see in the next Mario Kart or in a downloadable level for this Mario Kart. I want to see a level where as you're driving, like you see the guys fighting, like and you gotta like watch out so you don't run them over. And
that would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It seems like common sense at this point.
Yeah, why? He's like, come on, Nintendo, get with the fucking program.
Well, that's asking a lot. That's asking a real lot. Yeah. So I think the real story here is that Nintendo is really good at supporting their games after they come out.
Yeah.
They're doing DLC right. I was scared when they started doing it because, I mean, they could have fucking price gouged us big time.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Me Too to come out.
For Smash
Brothers, yeah.
With Mario Kart, it was like, I think it was grand total $15, and they basically doubled the size of the game for me. And I'm actually not sure if 200cc mode is a downloadable thing. I think it's free.
Yeah.
I mean, they're amazing. So, which means I got to dust off my Wii U. It doesn't get much love anymore. Maybe when I start playing Smash Brothers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Someday.
Do you guys know what Conker's big reunion is?
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's. I was surprised because I feel like this should have been its own thing. But Conker's big reunion is a new game, or maybe. It's so confusing. That's the problem with this, is that I thought it was a new game. I think it might be a remake of Conker's Bad Fur Day, which they already did on the original Xbox, so I'm not sure why they're doing it again. But it's all within the confines of Project Spark, which is their Microsoft's basically like game creator game, their version of Little Big Planet, but a little bit more in-depth.
So a Conker reunion, does that mean like all the characters show up and they're kind of fat and dumpy and like the jokes just seem a little bit more forced and they're not quite as funny?
Well, isn't that sort of the thing? Is like all these jokes were funny like back on the N64 when we were younger.
Were they?
And like like when we were younger. I mean,
like, oh my god, they swore.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
On Nintendo, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Like Conker was a drunk hero, right? And I don't know. And so to do this within the confines of Project Spark, it's like, what's the point? Just give us a brand new Conker game. Like, why are you constantly like?
Whoa.
Well, and it's not even about remakes. It's Rare has not been allowed to do anything awesome for a long time. Rare has been making the Kinect sports games for Microsoft for years. And so finally we're like, oh, Conker, Rare's going to be back to full. And then it's in Project Spark. So just make us a real game. And by the way, Project Spark isn't as good as it should be. Like, it's on the Xbox One. You think it would be a pretty powerful game creator, and it's a lot. It does a lot, but I mean, frame rate's pretty janky, and I don't know. And they are price gouging the fuck out of you. You buy that game, and like just to make a game, you have to pay like another $40.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
Yeah. I would love to make a game with Project Spark, but I'm not willing to pay money after buying the
or
game.
put in effort.
Or turn on my Xbox One. Yeah. So this is stupid. The Splatoon director has decided to leave out voice chat from the Wii U game. So Splatoon. Yeah. Good. No. It's Splatoon's a multiplayer-based game, and it is kind of like an arena fighter. Like you kind of all have paintball guns. Is what it looks like, and it's kind of like a deathmatch thing. There's more to it than that, but that's the premise.
Yeah, it's Nintendo's like next big thing that they're kind of pushing.
Yeah, and it looks adorable. The amiibos. Okay, so the amiibos first and foremost, they're coming in a 3-pack. There's like the two Splatoon heroes, the hero and the heroine, and like one of the enemies, and it's a 3-pack. And I'm like, I need this, right? So immediately I was like, here's what Nintendo's good at: is making you care about games that you don't care about. And the way they did that for me was to make an amazing amiibo pack. I was like, well, I'm not going to buy the amiibo pack and be like, look at my Splatoon amiibos, without actually having Splatoon as the game. Otherwise, I'd feel like a dumbass. But now I feel like a real dumbass. Because I'm buying a game for the amiibos.
Yeah. And not the other way around.
So, thanks, Nintendo. You've done it again. So there's that. But so the director's leaving out voice chat because he doesn't like the obscenities that happen on other games with voice chat.
I mean, who does?
Right. Like, just, why can't we just reprimand the people who aren't following the rules? So it's immediately dumbing down the game because you're scared of what might happen. And it's like, just step it up and have a better and have a better online service.
You know?
Well, see, that's hard.
That is.
I'm scared of getting hit by a car. It's not stopping me from walking out the door. You know,
Yeah, well, I told you about how the voice chat works in Smash Brothers, right? If you're playing Smash Brothers online,
in the lobby,
you can only talk in the lobby.
Yeah.
As soon as the matches start, it just cuts out because again, they don't want they don't want people trash talking each other. But it's so infuriating because then I'm sitting there the whole match because Smash Brothers, the whole point of playing Smash Brothers is seeing all this like crazy ass shit happening. So every time something happens, I'm like, oh, I got to remember to talk about that when we get back to the lobby, and I'm like taking notes and shit while I'm playing Smash Brothers, so I can enjoy the experience.
The Splatoon co-director, Yusuke Yamano, his quote is, "When I played online games, I didn't like the negativity I got and people telling me, 'You're crap, go away.' So we wanted to focus on the positive aspects of online gaming." I don't think they were saying, "You're crap, go away." They were saying, "You fucking suck, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here."
Followed by a bunch of racial slurs.
Right. If you suck, go away is the worst.
I'm picturing like somebody says that to him, and he's just like, "Oh God!" He just breaks down in tears, runs away from the console.
Right. Square Enix Japan launched a teaser site for a new project they're doing. Why can't they just tell us?
Oh,
Why do they
is
need
this the thing that they've been talking about, the weird Deus Ex teaser?
No, the Deus Ex game has been announced.
Okay.
Sorry, do you guys care about Deus Ex? I skipped over that one.
A little bit.
Yeah. Did you play Human Revolution?
Yes, I did.
Was it Evolution or Revolution?
I think it was Revolution.
I think it was Revolution.
Yeah.
That was the one with like the outsourced boss battles, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Which weren't that terrible, but
that game frustrated me. I wanted to love it, and I just couldn't. Like, never got a grasp on the controls. I felt like the game was fighting me just to play it.
Yeah, it took me a while to get a handle on it too. But I ended up, and when I first started playing it, I was like, "Oh, this is a stealth first. Like, what the fuck? No."
Yeah, it was very stealth.
So what is
game.
Deus Ex?
The newest one, Human Revolution, it's part of a long-running series of like sci-fi first-person RPGs that usually involve a lot of like corporate espionage and technological issues like human augmentation and that kind of stuff. And it was a very well-received game. It hadn't the series had kind of stagnated for a while, so I think a lot of people were wondering if it was able to come back or not. But the new one was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it reviewed well, and before the PS3 360 one, the Human Revolution, the last one was what? Invisible War?
Invisible War, yeah.
PS2 and PC?
In the PC, yeah.
Yeah. So there had been a pretty big gap between...
Yeah, and that had been like an
releases.
earlier PS2 game, too.
Yeah, and it looked it.
Yeah.
It felt it. Yeah. Not great. Although on the PC, I think it was amazing, supposedly. Okay, so this teaser site, though, nothing to do with Deus Ex. This is actually... This article is from IGN, so I'm just going to quote... I don't know how to pronounce the reporter's name, so I'm not going to.
Steve, tough guy.
It's CHLOI is the first name. Oh, is that Chloe?
Chloe, yeah.
Motherfucker. What's up, Chloe?
How's it going?
Sorry that it looked...
Sweet name.
Yeah. Chloe, it gets better.
Okay.
Chloe's last name is Rad. Chloe Rad.
That's
pretty
a
rad.
pretty awesome name.
I'm so glad I took the time to learn how to pronounce your name, because it's an awesome name, Chloe Rad. Chloe Rad writes, Square Enix
Whatever
Japan.
she fucking wants to.
We're gonna read it anyway.
Yeah.
Square Enix Japan just launched a teaser site for what the page itself refers to as Square Enix New Project. Well, that's original. The teaser site is still sparse with the text S_AR and 0101 overlaid on what appears to be a satellite image of a snowy planet or perhaps an ocean. In the lower corner is a Twitter feed featuring tweets from people using the hashtag SQEXSecret hashtag, so Square Enix Secret, based on the S_AR text and the possible ocean backdrop. Nothing. Many fans speculate that a new Star Ocean game is coming.
Oh, yeah.
But we won't know for sure until Square Enix drops us some more info.
I can't wait. That's a series that certainly hasn't run out of steam.
I've only played till the end of time.
Yeah.
PS2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we talked a bit about Square Enix, not Square Enix,
Tri-Ace, yeah.
Right. Tri-Ace has become bought out by a mobile developer.
Yeah.
And they were the original developers of the first Star Ocean games. This is exciting because we kind of thought that maybe Star Ocean was dead because Tri-Ace was not a thing anymore. And if Square Enix is finally giving us the JRPGs we've been wanting from them for all these years, then this could be a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know if Star Ocean is necessarily where I would have wanted to start with the Tri-Ace revival, but all right.
Where would you have started?
Valkyrie Profile, Radiata Stories.
I would have started with Valkyrie Profile,
yeah.
too. This is a weird story. Resident Evil Revelations 2 is headed to PlayStation Vita soon, with all 4 episodes getting PlayStation Vita-centric features. My question is, you buy games for your work.
Yes.
Did Revelations 1 come to Vita?
We don't buy Vita games. I don't think so, though.
Why? Because no one plays them?
Yeah, pretty much. They never circulate.
I'm gonna do a quick Amazon search here because that's one of those games that came to like all platforms.
Yeah,
and so I'm just curious if it came out. Revelations, of course, was a 3DS game originally, and then it got brought over to the consoles. No, Revelations 2. They skipped Vita for Revelations 1, but I hate when companies do that. Whenever I play a game series, I want to play it all on the same system. I hate when I gotta play Metroid on the NES, and then Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, and then Super Metroid on the SNES. I'm like, can I just play them all on the Wii U? I mean, the PlayStation 4. I mean, I don't want to play those games anymore.
I can't get up. I'm so tired. Where's the rest of the Taco Bell?
Now, I did skip over my favorite news story of the last 2 weeks. Not the Taco Bell story. What I've been asking for, I've only been asking for 2 things. I've been asking this void in front of me for 2 things since day 1 of this podcast.
To watch it?
No. I'm only asking for things that are possible.
Yeah.
The first thing I've been asking for is The Last Guardian. Anybody? Anybody out there? Anybody out there can do anything about that for me? Nothing. Okay. The other thing I've been asking for is for Tecmo or Nintendo to bring the Wii U Fatal Frame game to the United States. Finally, they announced that we're going to get it. So we finally get a new series in the Fatal Frame series, and it's coming to the Wii U. Another reason to dust that fucking thing off. I'm so happy. The Wii U is like custom designed for a Fatal Frame game. It's like the controller is a camera with a viewfinder. How perfect!
Oh man, what if it used that augmented reality, like the 3DS, where you can like see around your room and like ghosts and shit coming out of the walls?
No, did you ever play The Hidden?
No. Is that what that was?
Or Spirit Camera?
Is that
both of those games are? It's that you walk around your apartment, you're like, oh, there's a ghost behind my bed, and I'm like, I just want to lay in bed. Can't the ghost come to me? Like I don't want to fucking search out things in my apartment. I hope it's not like that. Yeah, I hope I'm just like looking around the TV screen for shit and taking pictures with the triggers. Don't mess with a good formula. Those games were great, and
they've all reviewed pretty well. They've got a good reputation. 2
and 3 got increasingly more Japanese as the series went on, like to the point where it was like very like if you weren't Japanese, like maybe like you didn't enjoy the games as much because there was so much like Japanese mythology that sort of like intertwined into the story. And so I struggled a little bit with the story in 2 and especially 3, but I don't care. Those games are great. I think the first is probably my favorite, and I'm probably alone in saying that. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the GameStop shenanigans with the computer system going down for Amiibo previews?
Yeah, you want to enlighten the world?
So GameStop, I don't remember exactly what day it was, but they opened the pre-orders for the new set of Amiibos, which are still selling out like crazy.
Yeah. I want Pac-Man.
Yeah, I do too.
I thought I was done. They wrote me back in. Oh, and Yoshi's?
Like
did you see the Yoshi ones?
No.
The Yoshi ones for Yoshi's Woolly World, they look like they're made out of yarn.
Yeah.
And they're plush, and they don't even have a base that they stand on, so they look completely different than the rest of the Amiibos. They look awesome. And they come in
different colors?
3 colors. Or at least 3. I don't know if there's more. There's green, blue, and pink, I think. I want them all. I'm broke.
Yeah. So apparently the pre-orders were so aggressive, they had lines around the block at GameStop that the GameStop's nationwide like computer network went down in the midst of all this. Which kudos to GameStop. But man, what is with the Amiibo scalping? Like it's out of control.
Right.
Even Skylanders wasn't that popular.
No.
Right.
No, yes, like
or Disney Infinity.
Yeah, I can walk into any store that sells any of those other figures, and almost a guarantee I will find at least one of everything on the shelf. Where I mean, with the Amiibos, there's maybe only half of them that are actually like available.
There's a certain set that you just know you're going to find everywhere, and it's part of the original line.
Yeah. Although I've been seeing more of some of the like Mega Man and Sonic. I've been seeing
those
a
are
lot
becoming more common, but those weren't released that long ago.
No.
So I feel like you always need to have like a month buffer before you really see what's rare and what's not.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that that NES is going to be easy to find.
I know, and that's the one that I wanted.
Me too.
You know,
Pac-Man I think is probably going to be one of the easier ones. They're probably going to create a lot of those. I want Yoshi. I want Splatoon. I want them all.
Yeah, it's nuts. I can't decide whether this is brilliant on Nintendo's part or just like asinine.
Of course, it's brilliant. They are the masters of artificial scarcity.
That's true.
I mean, they kept the Wii from being easy to find for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So anytime someone saw a Wii on a store shelf, they buy it because they were like, I don't know the next time I'm going to see one of these. I know people that like had one and they saw another one and they just bought it because they were like, well, I know somebody wants this that I know. You know.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Right.
Well, but it's frustrating too. It's kind of reminding me of I because I'm a cool guy, ladies. I also collect superhero toys and assorted other things, and it's just kind of reminding me of the worst parts of hunting for like the chase figure in a case of action figures.
Well, I mean, this brings up a good question. Is part of the fun of Amiibos finding one out in the wild, you know? Because it's no fun to pay $40 for a new Amiibo, you know? Because if I went on eBay right now, I could basically pre-order every single one.
Yeah, they're all around.
If you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
But I think part of the cool part of the hunt is finding one for the $12.99 MSRP and being like, look what I found today.
And I'm okay with that, but when it's this bad, when it's to the point that pre-orders are selling out like before there's even a line, before the line is even finished.
It's true.
Like, I mean, so the average consumer is never ever going to see those on, on the shelf. And ostensibly, I mean, this is, even when I buy toys, I remind myself, like, this is for kids, that's what it's here for. If a kid can't walk into a store and reasonably expect to find their favorite character, then that's shitty.
Well, I mean, come on, it's like, remember how scarce Tickle Me Elmo was? Like, that's obviously for kids.
He was so ticklish.
He's so ticklish. But I mean, it's these are the things that that are scarce, because the people buying amiibos are either parents for their kids or man-childs like us.
Yeah, I think the amiibos, it's a lot more scalpers, though. I mean, the
really
Tickle...
So?
Well, stuff like Tickle Me Elmo or like the Cabbage Patch Kids or like Beanie Babies, a lot of that also had to do with like Holiday Rush. And I mean, there were some scalpers. True. There were some scalpers, but I think a lot of it was that like, I have to get my kid the perfect Christmas present, which is also its own problem, but I think is somewhat unrelated. Where this, I think a lot of it is... scalpers. They're people that they know this is now, there's been, 4 waves, and there's always, like, 1 or 2 figures that are ridiculously hard to get, and they know, I can invest $30 now, and I'll make, $130 down the line.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And I think that's shitty, because that's,
why aren't we limiting, like, does GameStop not have a limit on pre-orders? Can you just go and... pre-order as many as you want?
I don't know. I do know that Toys R Us at least had they had signs out saying like you can only buy 1 of each of the new set of amiibos, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's frustrating because it's turning what could be kind of a neat, fun little support to a game into something that's
competitive,
sort of frustrating. And
but then again, isn't that what Nintendo's all about? Look at Mario Kart, look at Mario Party, look at Super Smash, is just like even Pokemon, like it's all competitive.
They're gonna send out an email in the next couple of weeks saying the Amiibo Hunt has all been one of their new. It's all part of their new reality based game, and we owe them all $60 if we bought an Amiibo.
Wait till they start making Pokemon. There's 670 something of those.
Yeah. I can't believe this didn't happen sooner with Pokemon. Like when Disney Infinity was happening, when Skylanders was happening, Nintendo could have made a fortune, and they still can. It's still popular.
When I was probably your age, or maybe even a little bit younger,
I remember when I was a
kid. I remember around when Pokemon was first coming out. I thought to myself, what would be like $1 billion idea? You create an RPG. And a barcode scanning attachment. I think this was back for the Super Nintendo. They did
something like that, but for Digimon instead of Pokemon.
Exactly. You create a barcode scanning attachment, but then you sell... You create vending machines, and you put the vending machines in different stores, and you sell little capsules with characters in it with barcodes on the bottom. And then you scan the barcodes, and you can add those characters to your RPG party. And I remember thinking that, and I thought that all up within the span of like an hour. And I was like, wow... If I had any way of implementing this now, I would be fabulously wealthy. And I've just been sitting on that idea for like 20 years because I was like, I can't do anything about it, but somebody's going to get really rich off of that.
The rich get richer.
Yeah.
And we're fucking broke. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. You're brilliant.
I am.
Yes. Yeah. You had to tell us that you're brilliant.
This is my secret brag. Yeah.
All right, guys. This is totally up to you. I know you had a sort of
I think I gotta probably wrap it up.
All right. So let's wrap this up pretty quick. What are we gonna be playing this week? Are you gonna stick with your 2 games, or are you gonna move on to something else?
I think I'm gonna try to stick it out. I think if I can power through this side quest, I can just bum rush the rest of Bravely Default and just be done with it.
Okay. Yeah. You're kind of in a sucky situation. Because you really should be...
And I'm playing difficult games, too.
You should be enjoying... Yeah,
I know.
Right. You should be enjoying your time with these games a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to have a lot of time this week to start anything new anyway, so...
Yeah. I'm going to be playing Bloodborne, of course. I'll be playing that until probably the day I fucking die. Because it's probably...
Which is going to be like a month from now and you have a heart attack from Taco Bell.
Nice. I guess I'll be on the treadmill before.
Yeah.
So the
And then everyone like rushes. You're just like, oh god, like lying on the ground. Everyone rushes over, and you're just like, drag me to McDonald's.
right, one last meal, please.
Yeah.
One last meal. But yeah, with all the with my OCD reproduction orders, I've got some stuff to be doing with that too. And yeah, I mean, look for the Mad Wizard back episode of Backlogged this coming week. Jobby and I actually finished off Demon's Crest.
Oh, nice.
We did. So we got a lot further in the game. I actually beat the final boss, and so here's something real quick before we wrap this up. So when we first played the game and we found the last boss, and it was really difficult. It took us a long time to beat him because we're really underpowered. It was, you walk in, the dude like brings up these 2 stone pillars. Yep. And then you fight him, and that's it. You kill him, done. And then the ending of the game happens. When I beat the ending myself after we had gone through the world and like really leveled up, we were only missing like 1 or 2 items really.
Yeah, about I think a spell,
one spell,
and a talisman.
That's it. No, we had all the talisman.
No, a crest.
Yeah.
No, not a crest.
Nope.
The fire crest thing.
Something.
Yeah.
We were only missing 2 slots. We had gotten through like 95% of the game. There was just like a little bit we were missing. I took it from there and just went and beat the final boss because I was like, I can't leave my Super Nintendo on for another week. Great thing about old systems, just leave them on. It's fine. Yeah.
And then the setting changed, and it was the church. Like a really beautiful church.
Right, so there was a whole level when I went to beat the final boss. There was a whole you were part of this. Yeah. There was this whole beautiful church ahead of time. There's like a whole level before the final boss.
A mini boss before the boss.
A mini boss. So that one location changed a lot
drastically.
And then the actual end boss. I mean, there were all sorts of different things that happened before he even brought those. He brought the pillars up, I think, but then he like flooded it with water, so I had to switch into my other form so I could swim around and try to jump up and shoot him. Then the water came down, and there was like other forms, and then there was like a longer ending. Now, I was like, that's all I'm going to do, because we've spent way too much time with this game now. But I looked up online, and I saw that we saw the bad ending first, and then what I saw after that was the normal ending, and then if you found, I think, one more item, you would have gotten the good ending, which the boss battle is longer even, and then the ending is longer, and then finally there's the best ending, which
you have everything,
which changes everything.
Yeah.
So I feel as though doing Backlogged is sort of a tough situation for me because the only thing I care about is beating the game.
Right.
But when it came down to Demon's Crest, it's like I can't justifiably say I've beaten this game when I've only spent 2 hours with it.
Yeah,
right. But spending like 6 hours with it, I feel like I've seen enough of this game where I can totally judge how I feel about it, and I can say that I've beaten the game even if I haven't seen its true ending. It's a really great game.
Yeah, it is, and I have heard that the true last boss is like one of the hardest bosses in the history of video games.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah.
And plus, in an age where you can just watch the endings online, that's fine. Like, save me the extra couple hours. So that happened, but yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of reproductions this week.
Nice.
What are you going to be playing?
Probably Pokemon Rumble, Poke Problems, and Life is Strange. Episode 2 just came out, so
Life
I need
is Strange.
to finish it.
That's Square's sort of adventure game.
Yeah, it's sort of like a story-based game, sort of like The Last of Us, Heavy Rain, and Beyond Two Souls.
Not really selling it there.
Regardless,
I've heard this one's
like
gotten
it.
good reviews.
Yeah.
You
get
said
so
it's pretty emotional,
during that game. I get emotional. I don't really care about movies.
The opening credits just start, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, not even kidding. The soundtrack makes me cry. Like, it's just a really good game.
Nice.
You get really connected to the characters. I feel like it's situations that I would probably end up in myself, other than the extra shenanigans.
What's the setting?
You're this girl in a college for art. She's a avid photographer. Mm-hmm. She's going to school for it, and I'm trying to explain it without.
Yeah, don't spoil
Yeah.
it. But it's very grounded in reality.
Yes,
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
All right.
You play as some everyday girl. You have an everyday life, and all of a sudden, everything just changes. And throughout the story, you learn
Judy
about.
Blume wrote some books about that.
Awesome. Okay. Anyway, we got to wrap this up so Mike can get on with his day, and I can go to work. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Another Gaming Without Parole podcast. If you have anything you want us to talk about, anything you liked or didn't like, please leave it in the comments below. Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Keep watching our channel for more episodes of Backlogged, and Joby's going to get some airtime too. We're going to get him in front of the camera a little bit more often.
For his spin-off podcast, Poker Problems.
It'll be the highest
Why
rated
doesn't
podcast.
Diglett reveal what's down under?
For Gaming Without Parole, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Mike Zeller.
I'm Jobby Nogueras.
And we will see you next week.